Hi there, even though we are not having services, I just wanted to reach out to you and encourage you to spend this time, a special time that we all are facing, together in prayer and in meditating upon the suffering of Jesus. Coming Sunday is called the Palm Sunday, and then the whole week will be the Holy Week. And then comes the Easter. So the gospel is not a news of failure, even though Jesus died on the cross of Calvary, but the story is that he rose again from the dead and he is a living God. But it is important as a church believers who follow his footsteps, it is important to think about how much he went through suffering for us as human being. He is 100% God, 100% human being. And so everything that Jesus went through to suffer for us, it is written in the Gospels. Especially, I wanted to reach out to you by reading this passage in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 26. I want to read from verse 36 onwards. It talks about Jesus spending time in praying to the Father in the Garden of Gethsemane. And so let me read it for you. It says, Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane. And he said to them, Sit here while I go over there and pray. He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. Going a little further, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will. Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. Could you men not keep watch with me for 1 hour? He asked Peter, Watch and pray, so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the body is weak. He went away a second time and prayed, My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done. When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed the third time, saying the same thing. So here is a great information for us to think about what Jesus went through in the time of his prayer. It was a very sorrowful and painful time for Jesus in his soul. And so, what did he do? How did he face the time of trouble and sorrow? Even to the point of death, he was so sad, so sorrowful. How did he face it? He just took time to talk to the Father. And another thing that we can find here is that Jesus needed friends to be with him, to pray with him. But in the story that we have here, is that his friends, his disciples, own disciples, failed him. They could not stay up and pray with him. And so there are times in our life we have to go through troubles in our own personal way. And there are times that we cannot even depend on anybody but the Lord. And so you have to learn to be like Jesus when you face troubles. You know, the whole world is in trouble today. There are people we are hearing news that people are dying because of this virus. And it is not news, a new thing. Viruses can be very good at times. Without viruses, we cannot even survive. But there are sometimes that this kind of viruses comes and it just stops everything. The human beings are so much affected by this one virus that we cannot even see with our naked eyes. So in the time of trouble, what is the best way to face it? We cannot spend time in criticizing the government, criticizing the leaders, criticizing everybody that comes around. No, the best way to meet this challenge that we have as human beings is to talk to the Lord. Spend time in the presence of God. We do not know what is the plan of God, what is the purpose of God. The only thing we know is to ask Him for more of His mercy, more of the strength in our life so that we can go on in our day-to-day life. And what I see here is that another important thing that Jesus did right here is that He was willing to give Himself up according to the will of the Father. Even though He don't want to go through it, because He said, may this cup be taken from me. He was not willing to go through. But even though He was not willing to go through, yet He did it because He understood more than His desire. It is the will of the Father He wants to accomplish. So all through the ministry of Jesus, very often He taught them that it is important that we do the will of the Father. I have come to do the will of the Father, is what Jesus very often mentioned in His ministry time. So I pray this morning, may you come to the place of understanding that you cannot rely on anybody because God is in charge of your personal life. He is the ruler over the whole universe. He is the sovereign God. And so rely on Him and trust in Him and put your whole life into His care and say, God, let your will be done in my life. See, because God's will is perfect, God's desire, there is no one can stop it. Whatever He purposed, He will do it. He is in charge of all of our lives. And so it is better for us to rely on Him and spend time in the presence of God. And that is the best way I see here. When the time that He was sorrowful and He was troubled, He was overwhelmed. The Bible says, overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. He relied on God, the Father, and His will. He was willing to do the will of the Father. I pray that God will give us the wisdom, even in this time of trouble. Reach out to the Lord. Talk to Him. Let Him reveal Himself to you. Be willing to do the will of the Father in all of your life. May God bless you as you think about the goodness of the Son of God, who is willing to go through this process for us, just to save us and set us free. I can see the love of the Father in this passage. I can see the love of the Son towards the Father in this passage. I can see the love of the Lord Jesus Christ to the human being in this passage. I can see it is important for us to do the will of the Father in all of our life. May God's will be done. That is why Jesus taught this prayer. He said, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, and thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. May God's will be done in all of our lives. Rely on Him, saints. Trust in Him. He's a good God. We love you. God bless you.